Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for a beautiful Vuelta España Wednesday stage. You're going to have to wait a little bit for the big stages this weekend, some of which I do believe will have full or close to full coverage, thank the Lord.
Ooh.
Today we did not have that, though. Stage 11 from Lerma to
Fortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, on that point, once again, the most exciting part of this stage is going to be break formation, particularly if the GC teams or Jumbo don't want to control it. And we missed that today. We missed the echelons the other day. So I know it is an extra cost, but we are so used to full coverage, actually, in the Giro and the Tour.
We're saying, yes, the formation phase, the breakaway formation phase is interesting, but I will say the second that the break formed in today's stage, until the bottom of the last climb, nothing happened. I literally fell asleep, and I've never actually fallen asleep in a cycling race before. So today was a milestone in my cycling life.
Yeah, you're right. It's like, well, what if Jumbo just control? What if a break of 3 went today, no one chased? It'd be super boring. So maybe you look at this profile, you probably don't want full coverage most of the time. I will say, hit me up, anybody, but if you want further info, but we've got to find a way to locally record break formation if it's not being live broadcasted, and someone quickly edit a little 5-7 minute package together so that when coverage comes back, we don't go from just neutral all the way to with the current race. We get to see something. That's got to be something they can do with just 1 or 2 motos, which will be there anyway.
SD cards.
Oh, SD cards, yes. They can store footage that then can be transmitted later and viewed later. Recording. Anyway, Lerma to La Laguna Negra Vinuesa. It is rolly terrain, but mostly flat, to be honest, for the first 145 Ks. Starts to go uphill for about 10 Ks, and then the final climb, 6.5 Ks, 6.7%. Dan Martin beat Roglic here when he got the sprint right in 2020, but today I thought it was less likely the GC group would win because Jumbo already got a stage win. Remco's sprint looks equal with Roglic. Do you really want to maybe risk putting Kuss on another gap like Roglic did on stage 9? And so, I don't know what happened, Benji. It looked like the break took a while to form.
Yeah, a really long time, because I swear it was 50 kilometers, 60 kilometers until a break formed. But when it did form, it was one of those moments where, okay, damn, they're gone. A big group, they're gone. It's gone forever. And like, at these moments, I would love to analyze the breakaway formation. Why did it take that long for a breakaway to form? Were there riders that were GC riders trying to slip into breakaways? I didn't see any major reports of GC riders trying to do that. But in the end, it's often just because breakaway riders neutralize each other in the way that, let's say, 7 teams are involved in a breakaway and 3 teams missed it, then those 3 teams will probably neutralize that breakaway of 7 teams, and there's that rolling carousel of teams that are missing the breakaway until there's a breakaway that almost everybody is happy with, that is almost unable to take back. And 26 riders on the road today, that is our breakaway, and it had some good riders in there. Ineos was involved with, I mentioned Ghana yesterday for today's stage. I truly believed in Ghana for this stage in the same way that I believed in Lascano today's stage. Lascano missed the breakaway, but Ghana was here with his GC leader, Geraint Thomas. I wouldn't classify him under a GC leader in this race anymore because he's on 13 minutes. But regardless of that, good climber, good duo to have in a breakaway, I'd argue, but depends on how you play them. Moscas there with Vergaarde. That duo for Trek, no confidence, no offense, but they are domestiques to me. Mollard, Aski, Gregoire, all in for Gregoire, but there's a slight opportunity for Mollard there as well. Yeah. That duo is really strong. Kroon already won a stage, a bit of a forgettable stage 2 after the Montjuic attack, but he still won one, and he's got that quality to be able to fight in this breakaway. Caicedo, you mentioned him yesterday. I don't know in what context you mentioned it.
I think I disparaged him.
Oh. Well.
No, I said he couldn't win, which he didn't. I said he couldn't win, but he didn't, because he came like 4th or 5th from the other group.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's a good rider. Maybe I didn't disparage him. I can't remember what I say.
Piccolo was here as well as a teammate. Godon, Touzé, Prodhomme as the 3 riders from AG2R. Godon, I've actually kind of not noticed him too much in his victory in Brabant-Sapel. Maybe in some French race he did some stuff. Jan Maas in the breakaway, Johansson, Arcas, Herrada. Herrada's the only one of those four where I'm actually like, oh, he's got a chance. He's Herrada. You mentioned him for literally every single breakaway stage, I reckon, in this Vuelta.
Yep.
Except for this one.
Yep.
What went wrong?
I don't want to talk about it. I picked this fucker for every stage, man. Anyway.
Sean Flynn, DSM rider, comes from Tudor. Pretty talented rider in this breakaway, but not good enough to win this kind of stage. Auzion for... I swear, Auzion, at some point in my life, I remember him being a solid rider. When
I know who this is.
He was good in his last year at CCC when they were riding in an orange jersey? Or am I fucking stupid? Anyway.
I don't know.
Josom, also in the breakaway, Roselin, Luis Leon Sanchez, Diaz, Fagundes, and Sanchez, 3 riders from Burgos. And
Pelayo
Joel
Sanchez is
Nicolau.
actually not bad. Pelayo Sanchez is actually a decent rider. Oh, and Burgos Piace. But in that group, Benji, it looks really, it's big. It's 26 riders deep. The closest on GC is 20 minutes Millard. Thomas on 13 minutes. Not a problem for Jumbo controlling with the red jersey. They're happy with it. But realistically, 80% of this break has zero chance to win.
Yep.
Zero chance to win. And unfortunately, there isn't a great launch pad on this climb, before the climb rather. It is sort of just rolling terrain, but immediately you can see that Kron, Caicedo, maybe, Gregoire, the Ineos duo, and Herrada and are really the riders that can win this stage. Particularly like Herrada, yeah, ironically I have. If you look at his Tour of Oman sprint, very, very good. So I was expecting more maybe action beforehand, but then you think that, but then Groupama have Lewis Askey.
Yeah.
So where are you going to go on the flat with Askey chasing you, or Millard? Ineos got Filippo Ganna, where you're not going anywhere with him chasing you. Piccolo can mark a move. So, and the only other team with multiple riders are Burgos, Total, and Azure Desert. And, you know, Total did try that and it didn't really work too much. But GC, were you surprised that GC, we kind of called this, in the past, Roglic would have just gone for this stage for Jumbo, I think.
Exactly, but the situation is also like, yes, this is one of the easiest to control Unipuerto stages in the Vuelta, I'd argue, because there's been a few, like the 4,000 altitude meter ones to Havalambre, for example. That was very difficult to control compared to this one, who is on paper relatively easy to control. But the problem is, Jumbo has realized that Evenepoel is a 50-50 chance of winning the stage against Roglic. So are you going to risk that? And also next to that, you mentioned it at the start, if Evenepoel does his acceleration for the stage win, he obviously puts some time into Kuss as well, into Vingegaard. So you're reducing the chances of 2 of your 3 riders with a 50% chance of Roglic winning the stage, which is not necessarily worth it, I would argue. And then on the Quickstep side, I just think they don't have the confidence that their team can control this and still be strong enough in the mountain stages that are to come, because they're going to need every single domestique they want, that they have in the Tourmalet stage and so forth. So I'm looking at energy replenishment for that team in the next, well, today and tomorrow, for example. So, and outside of them, I didn't believe in anyone doing anything.
Why
because
would they? UA wouldn't, for an Ayuso to win, and Ayuso crashed too in the neutral.
Yeah, exactly. Ayuso crashed in the neutral, looked actually pretty banged up for a second there, went to the medical car, had like cuts in his shirts and looked a bit sore. But outside of that, Jumbo was keeping it at roughly 4 to 5.5, 5:43 when it comes to the time to the breakaway. And I want to ask you this question before we get into the final climb. If you are Ineos going into the stage with Thomas and Ganna in the breakaway, I personally believe you have the high chance of winning with Filippo Ganna and not with Geraint Thomas. That's my statement.
No, I don't agree necessarily, but I do think to maximize the team's chances of winning, Thomas is not the favorite in a sprint against these punchers, and so, but he probably is the best overall climber in that group. But yeah, Ganna's got the biggest engine of anybody in the whole group, obviously.
But the final climb is, in my opinion, not hard enough for Thomas to smoke the Gregoires and the Kroons and so forth. So
with timing, if they've had to spend energy chasing,
yeah,
then it's possible.
So I'm saying that I would have seen Genna do an early move and win in that way. You're saying that early move could have also led to Thomas ending up winning because the other riders would have had to chase.
Yeah, I think, and if Ganna wins and they don't chase him, that's beautiful. You still win the race. And if it gives G the chance to counterattack, I think that's the way to do it. But you're right, like maybe Mollard just can't chase, and then, oh shit, the gap's 15 seconds. Are you going to chase? And so it's that would have been the way to approach it. And they get to the bottom of the climb. Johansson's tried to anticipate for Intermarché. He's brought back. There's too many, I think maybe FDJ were chasing. And yeah, forget about the GC group for now or for the rest of the stage, frankly. And it's been a pretty straightforward Vuelta Uni Puerto stage. So we're just going into this climb with, like a reasonably fresh group, to be honest. And also attacks for Total Energy, one of the teams with multiple riders. Yeah. I think even Burgos Biache were trying to keep things together. And you got to remember, like they'll take a top 10 or a top 5 in a Vuelta stage 2. And then all of a sudden, your man's not even brought back yet. Orsolin, this is kind of what you were leading to, Benji. Ineos put Ganna on the front, and he just starts to set a steady rhythm, or hard rhythm, like as if he was McNulty and Micah for Pogacar in a finish like this. And yeah, I agree that I don't think that's probably maximizing anybody's win chances on Ineos.
My thoughts on this finish would have been that you either have Genna make a move before the climb even. That one I probably wouldn't have done necessarily, but if you do that, you might create a 5 to 6 man group with ruler type characters that Genna needs to beat instead of actual climbers. So that's a potential scenario.
Exactly.
And the second scenario is you use Genna attack on the earlier slopes of the climb, the 3%, the 4%, because if he gets the gap, which I'd argue is very possible, because good luck following Genna on a 4% slope. Like, if you do that, you're killing your own race. And good luck chasing him down if he does have the gap. I don't see Mollard being able to do that. I don't see the Burgos Domestiques being able to do that. So I reckon they would have had a much larger chance at winning this stage, Ineos, if they made an early move with Genna. And I believe Genna would have had a chance of winning the stage, a solid one.
Yeah, like imagine he does go clear before the climb with guys like Mosca or Damian Tuze or Johansson, and he's going to beat them easily on a climb like this. He's a really good climbing rouleur, and as you said, the first 3Ks average 5%. What happens when Mollard doesn't close it down completely? And then Gregoire is isolated. Kroon's got no teammate. Caicedo's got no teammate. Okay, they might start attacking G, but G can follow in the wheels. They still got to close Ganna down. G's getting a sit. It puts G in also a better position, whereas in this situation, basically Ganna paces the whole climb. It starts to get quite steep, and you see the guys coming to the side, and they're just waiting to then attack G, and then Ganna is too tired to respond to them. So now G's kind of put a target on his back saying, we think we're the stage favorites. And then everyone will look at G to close, and that's what happened with Caicedo, no? Caicedo goes, hard attack. I think Kroon did pace a bit, but there were other moves, and G's having to chase it back.
Yeah, Geraint Thomas is the one that really does the move to close it down. I reckon Mollard helped a tiny bit as well for Groupama, because he was also there next to Gregoire still in the group that was already very reduced thanks to the pace of Ganna, and I reckon it kind of stopped when Caicedo got caught, because Caicedo made a first move, got caught, and then it was actually silent for a bit. From 2 kilometers ago to 1.2, I would argue that distance from the finish line. And during that moment, we have Mollard who's trying to move up on the left side to attack on the left side, but he can't get through. And then he tries it on the right side, and it's so obvious, it's so telephone his attack, that Kroon just looks back and he's like, mate, I'm just going to ride a bit faster, and you're going to realize I've seen you attack. So that attack was ruined that in that way. And then Caicedo goes again, and this is where he actually, it sparked something in me where I was like, oh, okay, who's going to respond now? Because like his gap instantly was pretty good. He's got that he's got that punch, but not necessarily to outsprint the likes of Gregoire and Herrera. So maybe this was his best way of winning by doing these kind of moves, but there were people responding once again, and I don't remember fully if it was Gregoire or Herrera that was the one to make the bridge to Caicedo at the end.
I think it was it Krohn or Gregoire started moving? Herrera gets into the drops, 200 meters to go. Herrera, that is, Gregoire's in his wheel. Gregoire had been marking Thomas, but, you know, not looking like he could easily snap out of the wheel, but not looking like he was dropping either. And yeah, Herrera's just been brought without having to do, he hasn't had to close a single gap on the climb. He has been fresh in the wheels before the climb, and he's just been waiting for this moment to do his sprint, which he backs himself against guys like Krohn who've done more work. Gregoire, who's maybe not in his best shape, or maybe this is better competition than the French circuit. And of course, he'll back it against G in the last 200 meters. 300 meters uphill, and Herrera just puts the torch on everybody. Like, really, really impressive sprint. Wins the stage easily, 3 seconds ahead of Gregoire. Not just like a sprint, you know, bike length, 3 seconds, 8 on Krohn. Caicedo, he actually finishes 4th, and Thomas doesn't even catch up to him. He finishes 5th on 19 seconds. Sanchez, 24 seconds, and Mollard, Prudhomme got on Ganna. Ganna was on 116. Maybe he stopped trying. He did come back at one point trying to close the gap to Caicedo or Mollard that tried to attack across to Caicedo. So, yeah, really impressive from Herrera. Yep. He won a stage last year ahead of Rice, but then Uran beat him in the Pacher-Uran battle on Tentudia, which is actually it was a very similar stage. He came 3rd there. And this year in Oman, the result looks a lot better now, given that he beat Van Gils, who was very good in the Ardennes, Jorgensen, who's a beast, and Van Sevenant. He beat them in an uphill sprint on 2.6Ks, 7.1%, and the last 600 meters was 10.5%. He torched everybody in that sprint. So he has form for this, and it's the perfect stage for him, but you got to get in the break. And you got to be smart in the break, and he was, and he also brought the legs with him. So, yeah, really impressive win from Herrera. And Cofidis will be very, very happy with this season so far.
Exactly, especially with the victories they had at the Tour de France already, combined with this, they're actually having a really good season, and that's arguably good to see, because I've always had this feeling when it comes to the French World Tour teams that you had Groupama, who arguably did not have the best Tour de France in the world. But when it comes to the Vuelta, it's cool to see that they have those youngsters here and so forth, and then Age Desert is like the French World Tour team that doesn't know how to spend their money properly, so they overpay riders that have a palmarès but don't necessarily have the potential for great results anymore, like they did with Greg van Avermaet, like they might be doing with Sam Bennett in the coming years as well. And just that combination, everything combined there is like, Cofidis is the one that stepped up, and Arkea stepped up, and I'd argue Cofidis really stepped up this year, but Arkea's kind of in the corner.
They're a bad team. They're not a World Tour level team.
They're getting stomped. Okay, that's kind of
they got promoted to World Tour because of Quintana and the bullshit points rules that were in place. Without Quintana, with a change to the rules, they look very, very different in that UCI point standing. That's for sure. But yeah, it's good that Cofidis. It's just good that other teams are winning races like that aren't UAE or Jumbo.
Yeah.
Like Cofidis.
Question. Now about Ineos for one more second. Don't want to make this like an Ineos bashing fest or something, because actually I would have loved Thomas to end up winning a stage like this to fight back from falling out of GC and so forth, or I would have enjoyed seeing Ganna win a stage like this. But is this the Ineos management that is so standard when it comes to strategy all the time, or is this Thomas claiming his top spot versus Ganna in terms of hierarchy in the team?
I don't really know. It's hard to know. Maybe Thomas told Ganna to get on the front and just pace like he was Pogacar and going to torch Herrera and Gregoire and Krohn. Maybe the car said that was the best thing to do. Maybe Ganna said, I don't feel very good. I think we just go for you today, G. And he won the stage yesterday. Well, maybe he did.
He looked pretty good.
No, of course, but maybe he didn't feel confident that he could win. I don't know. Of course, yeah, it's very hindsight, but it was also saying that we can send the text receipts at the time. Me and you were texting each other like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, they're acting like they don't know who Harada and Gregoire are. G will smoke them on Tourmalet, don't get me wrong. But this ain't the Tourmalet. It's 6K, 6%. First 3Ks are shallow. It's a puncher's finish, and you need a sprint. And if G goes solo and he does get a 10-second gap, well, he's going to be really hard to bring back, don't get me wrong. But you need to create that situation, and that situation will not be created by Ganna setting a steady tempo for the majority of the climb.
Especially because you know G will be marked on a finish like this. So use that. Use that to your advantage. Make a move with Ganna early on. Then you're putting the other guys in the chase, and you might have a chance with Ganna of winning the stage, while Thomas can benefit from the rest like you mentioned. So yeah, I just feel like they're always stuck in their standard strategies, and it's costing them victories at the moment.
Yeah, or maybe Harada was unbeatable today. But certainly I think G could have run a bit closer. He had to do a lot of work was left to him in the last 2Ks. When it was steep, and the other guys, they looked at him predictably because he's Geraint Thomas. But he takes some time back on GC. Maybe he goes again. But in a breakaway to take more time back. Where is he back up to? He's now on 7:34. Maybe he'll go. Yeah, even breaking the top 10 is going to be difficult.
But we haven't spoken about the best part of this stage: the GC battle on the final climb.
Man, what the hell?
Uiterbrooks had a puncture before the climb started. That's a thing that happened. So that's something that happened. And then I swear nothing happened until the last kilometer where we just to say it, like on the climb itself, all the GC teams were riding next to each other until Quickstep kind of moved to the front and we're like, nah, we're putting a block on it, which I never really like when teams block the road because it prevents other teams from being able to attack, But do you see it as malice or not?
What was Remco doing, man?
Like, on this finish, if you're Remco, you know that you've got a punch that is better than Kuss. You know that you got a punch that is arguably better than Vingegaard, but not necessarily might create a gap. You're not getting bonus seconds, so it's all about getting the gap if you do go for something at the end of the stage. Because now he had like a little sprint thingy at the end of the stage, but nothing serious, so nobody was actually gapped. If you do want to get gaps, then sprint all out or don't sprint at all. But don't do like the little sprint thingy that's nothing serious.
Oh, I think he tried full gas in the sprint.
Well, that didn't look full gas to me.
Well, then what's he doing?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you would put the block. Was he trying to help Uiterbrooks gain free time by putting the block on?
I don't know.
Because Kjan went up the road and he eventually... maybe he was...
erasure.
Well, Uiterbrooks was up the road, but then he got reeled in and like he might have had a decent gap at one point when Quickstep put the block on. I don't know, like it was a self-neutralization. Jumbo, obviously, they also didn't care about doing anything. So yeah, Kelderman marks a Carthy counterattack. He actually finishes first of the GC group with Evenepoel coming in hot with Kuss on his wheel. So I'm just looking at the results.
It was fucking boring for GC, okay?
Well, that's fine. I didn't expect. It's not like it was going to be a make or break stage anyway. It was just. It's funny how the teams all approached the final climb. I also finished in the group seemingly quite fine, so hopefully he's not too affected by that crash. Maybe it would have shown up in the sprint if he was. GC is unchanged in the top 10, still Kuss leading. That's all from this stage, Benji. Not the make or break stage. I don't think for this Vuelta.
Exactly. And when it comes to tomorrow's stage, it's not exactly the make or break stage either. It's a sprint stage. It's a stage of 152 kilometers. Yes, there's a hill in there, but it's 2.8 kilometers at 3.7%, even though kind of looks like 40 kilometers of uphill in there. But it basically starts at 1,000 altitude meters, then drops to 600 in the span of 25 kilometers. Gets a small hill in there that might help creating the breakaway, which is like 2 kilometers at 5.6%. But then it's got like 55 kilometers of falls downhill, then 55 kilometers of falls uphill, then 55 kilometers of falls downhill. And that's more kilometers than there's in the stage, so my math is wrong.
I wonder if everyone's sick of helping Alpecin now. And maybe Alpecin will be... people don't want to help them anymore because or
they saw bearded man winning and are like, ooh, we've got like this third, fourth year sprinter that might end up winning if something crazy happens.
Who's more likely to win this sprint, Dainese or Sean Flynn?
Dainese?
No, Sean Flynn from a break. Sorry.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. I think probably still Dainese.
I think so as well.
Dainese does this is what he does in the Giro, right? He's like 11th, 9th, 10th, and then wins. He's done it 2 years in a row. So
Yeah.
maybe DSM do have to trust the process and stay with Dainese. They're the only team I can really see that happening with. UAE, you're not going to pace all day for a Milano stage win. That's just not happening. So
you
it's
can also
Alps and
combine.
DSM.
You can also combine and have like a rider in the breakaway while having your team
Yeah, that's
behind
always an
going
option.
for Dainese, because you don't necessarily need entire support around your team, especially with sprinters like this. I'm also curious if we'll see Marijn van den Berg again. What other sprinters are still in the race? Milano still in the race?
Yep.
I don't believe in a second bearded man victory for Total Energy.
Ghana.
For Soup.
Filippo
Ghana,
Ganna.
actually. Like, what does the final look like? Is it sketchy?
I'll bring it up now, but yeah, I also don't think Ineos are going to control the stage for Ghana, but I think for sure if he wants to, he'll be entitled to go for his own result in the sprint.
Especially now.
Yeah, especially now.
Should Thomas lead him out?
Yes.
He should, in my opinion.
He should, yes. It's reasonably technical. They finish in town. I think it's on a decent sized road in Zaragoza around the old town, but yeah, there's some bends, and it's a sweeping bend. It's a roundabout with not that far to go. So I think Ganna's just going to try to win it in a sprint. I don't see it in a flyer. I think he'll try to win it in a sprint like he did the other back against Groves where he came second. But yeah, we'll see how they go. Groves will be the favourite. Alpecin will be going for win number 3.
Yeah.
I am going to go with Dainese.
Okay, I'm going to go with, why not 3 stages in a row going all out Filippo Ganna? Why not? He won the time trial. He went all out for Thomas today.
He could have done the
all
Wout
out
van
with
Aert.
Thomas's help tomorrow. Yeah.
He could have. I mean, he's only got the first one, the Divmo in the mountain stage, and the sprint is the more difficult two to put together. But yeah, they'll surely go for him tomorrow. Any other news?
Stage 14? Isn't that also a break with stage 15?
15 is, yeah, but that's pretty difficult. That's like a Michael Storer, maybe. I mean, he could win that from the break. He actually could. It's a 6K 5% climb.
Lascano versus Ganna is going to be that day.
That'd be a nice, it's in Pamplona where it starts, where Movistar are headquartered, so they'll surely want to win that stage and be in the breakaway. Aaron Broe, is he here?
No, he was at the Tour.
Where's he now? Is he in Canada?
Probably.
Yeah, he's in Canada. He's good in Deutschland, actually. In news for Movistar as well, they've been having, I think, trying to find a co-sponsor for next year. There was rumors of Saudi Arabia coming in, and apparently Saudi Arabia, one of their telecoms group, have bought the largest share in Telefonica, which is Movistar, their sponsor. And so maybe indirectly they'll get some more money through that, even without getting a co-sponsor. Those questions were put to Eusebio and Zue, but I got to read the Marca articles and various articles about his response just yet. So maybe Movistar gets a cash injection from that.
Yeah. Maybe
they get the cash injection for the Rodriguez payoff. Other news was did we mention Sam Bennett to Azure Desert?
Well, it was already very nearly confirmed already before, but I reckon it was Daniel Benson that basically confirmed it on the new GCN site. So
I actually knew.
Oh,
I just never say anything.
Oh,
they need him. They need him. They need a sprinter. I know. Listen, is he in his best shape of his life? No. Tour of Britain, he won't shoot a gap to save his life at the moment, but maybe in a different environment. Not against Coy and Van Aert lead out. They need points. They need a sprinter. It's better than who's your man that they had that's like 35?
Who's your man that
Marc
they have
Serrault.
that is for?
He's better than Marc Serrault.
Bruh. How dare you disrespect Marc Serrault? Like, I don't hate them getting a sprinter, but I must believe that they're overpaying him in the same fashion that they did with Greg van Avermaet based on the Palmares. It can't be that Bennett is that cheap for Azure. And for the results that they're likely going to get with him, there's probably cheaper alternatives that don't necessarily have the reputation of Bennett.
Yeah. Like who? Aula.
Like, I would have gone for Vernon over Bennett.
Hmm. Depends on the money. Depends on the
Like,
money.
Bennett won't have a. Who's going to be his lead out?
That's a very, very good question.
Is Laurens Naesen staying? I don't know yet.
Look
Not
at their
confirmed.
roster. Apparently, so Citroen are going out of the team. They're leaving co-sponsorship. I don't know why.
Not surprising.
Um,
Where did the money go? Greg van Avermaet.
I think you pay Cosnich for that much money and you see him drinking beer during a tour stage.
But hey, Lafay is now also rumored, if I recall.
Yeah, that's a rumor. I think it might be done too. But I also heard that it wasn't as much money as the Parisian said.
Really?
I heard it's not as much as that. Like a decent chunk of change, but not like it's not 2 million. No.
Because I heard Cofidis offered 1.5, and I would argue that Ajazer probably gives more than 1.5 than because like otherwise I'd stay at Cofidis.
I heard it was much less than what everyone was saying, but regardless, his lead out Bennett could be what's his name? I can't say it. Pierre Gautara. He's actually not bad. This guy. He's actually a half decent. Like he wins some sprints and he's young. I think maybe he could be the lead out. Damien Touze, Godon, Bonamour. Yeah, it's not great. Maybe there's only 18 signed, so they got 10 spots left to announce. So, yeah.
There's spots left, but it's not easy to get a lead out these days, huh?
It's not. You also have to then, are they going to extend O'Connor after they just extended Felix Gull? I think they did that before the tour, so maybe they got a discount on that.
I think the Welsford Van Poppel duo will be golden next year.
You reckon?
Yeah, I truly believe that. Because Van Poppel's a bloody good lead out. Let's be honest about that. He's been beating.
No longer best in the world, actually.
I agree with that.
I think he lost it this year, yeah.
Nah, I have to believe that it's partially due to the fact that he hasn't had a top sprinter with him this year.
Yeah, I think
like it's hard to shine as a lead out. Like Van der Poel is also on the list. Like you've got Wout and you've got Van der Poel.
They're both better than Van Poppel. I know it's not their full-time job, but like who would you actually rather have as a lead out? Last man.
I don't know who of the two I choose actually.
No, instead of Van Poppel.
Well, obviously one of those two because they're also better riders next to being a lead out. So that's also in the equation. But also next to that, I don't know who I choose of the two because based on the Tour de France, Van der Poel might relegate himself for my victory. So that's also a value that Wout van Aert might not do.
I'd probably take Van Aert.
Yeah?
Because he has slightly smoother power. I think I'd probably take Van Aert.
Does it depend on the type of sprinter you are? Because I reckon Van der Poel works well for Philipsen because he has that acceleration kind of sprint.
I think Van Aert, if you want someone to deliver you at a steady, really high speed, I think if you put Van Aert with Groenewegen or Welsford, you'd see them winning by some really, really big margins. Whereas actually Coy hasn't won those Tour of Britain stages by huge margins. Like he doesn't seem to go faster than Van Aert after he kicks. He holds the gap, but he hasn't. It's not like he's winning by 6 bike lengths. He's winning basically 1-4 in a row.
But I do want to add, while I fully agree that Van Aert being a lead out for Coy is super impressive at the Tour of Britain, they're also riding against a BNC tier sprinting competition. Well, yeah, against the lead out of Sam Bennett that is beating Sam Bennett all the time. So, like, that is not the competition that you'll see at the Tour de France. I do expect Van Aert to be one of the best lead outs at the Tour de France regardless. If he's there, then he would be the best lead outs if he does that. But it's also not necessarily making me say that Coy is now the top sprinter in the world after Tour of Britain. That's still Philipsen. Coy might be entering the 4th or 5th position for me, but not in the top 3 yet, I reckon.
No. It's each win doesn't really tell you anything new. The first win told you all you really needed to know, the Tour of Britain.
How many World Tour wins does he have in his first 25, Coy? Like, do you feel like he's had a bit of a Bauhaus schedule?
2,
as a consequence of GC riders? 3, I think.
3, yeah. 2 Polonia, 1 Paris-Nice.
I reckon the second they put him in big races, he's going to win. with a proper lead out.
You want a Pyrenees stage against pretty good competition. So yeah,
like,
I agree.
Yeah, because like at UAE Tour, he's there, but he's not getting the lead out of like Van Aert or of Laporte at those races. If that lead out is at that race, then he's likely winning a stage there pretty easily, I reckon.
Maybe Jake Paul can be his lead out because he's dating Jutta Leerdam, who's a Jumbo-Visma speed skater. And he was spotted. Yeah, spotted on her Instagram riding around in a Jumbo-Visma helmet. Maybe.
What's your take on that?
I mean, I think I called Moraine. We were talking about something else, Zeman. And I said, you've got like a billionaire basically who's in a relationship with like one of the Jumbo athletes. And he's like, he didn't know who Jake Paul was. Or he maybe knew he was famous. I was like, he's okay, whether you like the guy or not, you cannot deny the fact that he is incredibly famous. And maybe if they can give him a stagiaire role, you won't have a problem finding a sponsor for 2025. Like, that's for sure.
What would sponsor the team then? Because I know he's got like a betting website, and I know he's got like
is that his brothers?
Yeah, that's his brothers. He won't be very happy with that, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay.
Because there was this drama that he didn't want to have Prime at his own event to promote his brother's stuff. But hey, I love YouTube drama, so I'm always. What
would the sponsor be if Jake Paul was on Jumbo Visma?
Maybe his. I recall him having made like a UFC faction of like an agency of fighters. So maybe that could be the sponsor, because betting companies won't work in the Jumbo team. I reckon from next year or the year after. There's some
Dutch
rule coming in.
teams. Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe he just needs to make a new brand.
Yeah, maybe.
But there's a lot of like negative response always when something like that happens. But it's kind of like, on one end, yeah, he doesn't have the best reputation, and I'm not necessarily a fan. But regardless of that, the amount of people that he could introduce to the sport,
exactly,
is gigantic.
And listen, he was just going for a bike ride for leisure with his partner, who's a speed skater. She's not a cyclist. But you're right, like the fact that to millions and millions and millions and millions of people who are not ordinarily watching, just put road cycling, as a sport to the side for a second, who have no opinion or maybe a negative opinion about cyclists. I think it's good to see athletes, particularly probably for the male 20 to 40 demo, not promoting cycling, but just showing it as a nice leisure activity. It's just a positive thing, even if you don't like the guy. Personally, I think it's good for cycling more broadly, as you said. But yeah, that's obviously wasn't the biggest stage in the Vuelta, because we've gone off on a bit of a tangent then. Maybe he'll give up boxing and he'll turn into... No, there's no way. He's got too much upper body muscle to be a cyclist. Or maybe he can be a lead-out guy. Who knows? But we'll see. We've got a sprint tomorrow. No lead-outs there because there's none in the Vuelta. And maybe it'll be a breakaway. Until then, ciao.